Genesis chapter 37 and verse 2. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. So we see here, Israel, Joseph is a truth teller, and his brothers was doing something they had no business doing. And he went and informed his father Jacob of the matter in order to stop evil from multiplying itself within his father's house. Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness, whether he hath seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. This is righteous behavior within Yah's law, statutes, and commandments. Now remember, it said, if you do not speak up, then you have to bear the iniquity of said sin. This is very important. It's along the same lines as if you did it yourself, if you committed the actual act. Galatians chapter 4 and verse 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? A very powerful testimony towards the witness of Joseph's actions in Genesis chapter 37 and verse 2. Right? So let's keep going. Because we know, Israel, the first step towards a changed heart is at step 1, in actually acknowledging that you did something wrong, that you need to change. And this is where Joseph comes in. He represents that foundation of a changed heart. Joseph's coat of many colors. What is it exactly? It was handcrafted by Jacob himself and is known as a sun catcher. It's a symbolism of divine favor. Joseph's coat of many colors represents some of the most powerful biblical themes in Scripture, such as inheritance, promise, rejection, suffering, perseverance, and eventually fulfillment. If you ever remember, Israel, going to a Christian church back in the day, they would always have those colorful glass windows. This is a representation of Joseph's coat of many colors, which also represents divine favor. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yah, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yeshua HaMashiach. So the Tetrahedron, right? First, let's get some basic information on what the Tetrahedron actually is before we deep dive into some use case scenarios. Okay? So at the top right it says, the Tetrahedron refracts light by altering its path as it passes through different media. The Tetrahedron can create multiple angles of incidence, leading to various refraction effects depending on the material it is made from. The angles at which light enters and exits the tetrahedron will determine how the light is dispersed or focused. So let's tie the basics of the tetrahedron into a more spiritual understanding concerning the scriptures, right? So for instance, Yah's word is a 360-degree angle of universal understanding, and we know in parts and prophesy in parts. And depending on how Yah is dealing with you concerning his word, your light that you reflect from his light will shine different from another person's light. So underneath this, on the article, it says, rainbows and tetrahedra, a fascinating connection. Rainbows are optical phenomena caused by the refraction, dispersion, and reflection of light in water droplets, resulting in a spectrum of colors. The mathematical representation of rainbows can be linked to geometric shapes like tetrahedra, which are three-dimensional figures with four triangular faces. So, just like in the previous lesson that I brought out regarding the Kidron Valley, where it says in John chapter 7 and verse 38, he that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow living rivers of water. So, the rainbow represents the covenant, and your light is a reflection of his light, a reflection and a refraction. So now, let's go to the left-hand side of the slide and deal with optical design, right? It says, optical design is the technical discipline focused on the creation and optimization of optical systems that control and manipulate light for specific applications. This sophisticated field combines principles of physics, mathematics, and engineering. The discipline emerged from early astronomical instruments and has evolved significantly through centuries of scientific advancement, incorporating both geometric and physical optical principles. The field encompasses various applications from microscopes and telescopes to camera lenses and fiber optic systems, each requiring precise calculations to manage factors such as focal length, field of view, resolution, and chromatic aberration. Optical design has expanded to include diffractive optics, adaptive optics, and micro-optics, addressing challenges in fields such as telecommunications, medical imaging, and virtual reality systems. Very cool, I must say. But as usual, Israel, we always got to ask ourselves, how did they get this technology? Because remember, Yeshua said Israel is the light to the world. Alright, so let's keep going. Sun catchers, people of color. So let's get the information on that. Different colors can indeed be seen on melanin-rich skin. Factors influencing color variation, which are genetics, the genetic makeup, of course, that's self-explanatory. And then underneath that, environmental factors, sun exposure. Then it says, moving further down, ruddy skin can indeed be complemented by rich colors. Best colors for ruddy skin: cool blues and greens, jewel tones, rich colors like emerald green, deep purple, and sapphire blue. Earthly tones, warm browns, and terracotta can harmonize well with the natural warmth of ruddy skin. Well, let's not just take the article's word for it, Israel. Let's get it straight from the scriptures. Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 7. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. Okay, Israel, now let's deal with this technology as it pertains to our people. Because once again, remember, Yah said we are the light to the world, and his word shall not return void, whether we are in captivity or not. We are still the people who the entire world follows after. Mimic, copy, and imitate. Ella Porter. In 1907, in a small shed behind a general store in Dayton, Ohio, lived a quiet genius named Ella Porter. She was a black woman in her early 30s, working as a seamstress by day and an inventor by night. Ella had a gift for machinery, with salvaged bicycle parts, sewing machine gears, and copper wire. She created one of the earliest versions of a portable hand crank washing machine, years before similar patents would surface. She sent detailed sketches and descriptions to patent offices only to receive rejections or silence. Still, her neighborhood knew her name. Families would line up to use her invention. Mothers thanked her with baskets of cornbread, and older folks shook her hands in amazement. So let's get another example, Israel. Here we have Lewis Latimer, right? It says, the black inventor who made Bell's phone and Edison's bulbs work. The incredible untold story of Lewis Latimer, son of escaped slaves, who saved both the telephone and the light bulb. In 1876, Lewis Latimer revolutionized Edison's failing light bulbs with durable carbon filaments that lasted weeks instead of days. Edison was so impressed, he hired Latimer as his chief patent investigator and made him the only black member of the elite Edison pioneers. This is the story of the man who made two of history's greatest inventions actually practical, but never got credit. Now, let's pay attention to the part where it says he never got credit. These simple words actually are very monumental because they are the foundation of what people do when they try to steal and lay claim to gifts that Yah has rightfully given you. But as we know, Israel, this gift of Lewis Latimer's is something that Yah placed within him. It's not something that's tangible, it's intangible. But moving along, so basically he was the only one on the job, it says. So what do you think they did, Israel? They did the exact same practices that they carry out until this day, stealing his work while trying to keep him marginalized. He's the man that kept the entire company afloat with the knowledge that Yah blessed him with. As the saying goes, when you're working for your oppressor, you have to work twice as hard to get the same level of recognition. And this recognition that you think you're getting is really not recognition, because what they're going to do, the strategy, is to have you train your replacement. They get somebody of another nation the job, but he really don't know anything because he has the complexion for protection. And so they have you train him of everything you know, because you either do it or don't get paid. They set it up strategically that way. So after they get through bleeding you of your knowledge, then you're the first fired. Last hired, first fired. That's the strategy. And this also comes along with gossip and slander and false accusations regarding your work ethic. They try to demonize you spiritually to the point where they want to try to get you to believe the false accusations. But you always have to remember who you are. And we being the people of Yah, aka the sun catchers, is very critical, because they want to steal your essence, aka your identity.
Mirror magic is like, say if you see people, right, and they start like throughout the weeks and the months and years, they start doing the things you do, wearing the things you wear, and certain things that you do that you never see them do before, they start doing it. And you be like, oh, they admiring me. Nah, bruh. And what they're doing like mirror magic. You dig what I'm saying to you? They're mirroring you to try to take your energy, or take certain inheritance that you have, or certain characteristics that you have that God has given you, and they're trying to make it their own. You dig what I'm saying to you? So they're trying to embody your energy. They're copying off you, and they're trying to absorb your energy. You dig what I'm saying to you? And then sometimes you be switching it up so much that they'll start attacking you, because they realize that you understand what they're doing. So they'll try to attack you, dig? And then when they can't steal your energy, they'll start attacking you. And another thing is that word magic. Word magic is when like people try to like put lies on your name, or just say certain things. People, you watch social media and all that stuff, they use word magic. They put out false information, you know what I'm saying, on people to get people to look at them different. That's word magic. You dig what I'm saying to you? They're using word magic in order to change your direction of what people see in you. You dig what I'm saying to you? So watch that, you know what I'm saying? The evils use mirror magic, where they're mirroring you, and they're doing the things you do, and they use word magic where they're putting out false lies about you. That people that don't know about you, they'll put out false lies to get people to agree with them and look at you different. You dig what I'm saying? To try to outcast you. So watch that, man.
There was an impersonator. I've talked about examples before. Like I've talked about Remy Ma, the Clarissa Shields situation, Epstein, Weinstein, a lot of people. It's a lot of people. It's so many others who have used wizardry. However, the struggle happens when you have people who are anointed without knowing that they are anointed. With almost all of those situations, certain people that people try to alter the destinies of, these people are anointed without knowing it. I don't think that most of the people that I've seen where people have blatantly just like mirrored them to the T, like their lives and souls depend on it. I don't think a lot of those people are spiritually privy to their anointing, or maybe the marker that is on them. And you have a lot of people using Brene and Akira, I've used that before, in Remy Ma and Clarissa, we can use them too. There's a struggle, there's a power struggle for the soul of one, right? Because people like, I like to use Akira and Brene because it's so prominent in social media, and Clarissa and Remy, because all of the women that have witnessed the situation between those people, we can clearly see what's happening there, where it's not just copycat energy. It's like you're imitating and mirroring as if your life depends on it. So it's not like I'm inspired and I just tweak what you've done. It's you're doing everything in current time as if your life is depending on it. What that means is, like, if someone changes and tweaks something on Monday, and you were doing something else on Sunday, as soon as you see it on Monday, you immediately go and change to whatever their current frequency is that day. You're mirroring their current frequency day to day. So you literally have to check in and monitor as if your soul is depending on it. That's not normal. What is happening is glamour magic. That is magic. That is a form of the craft, because you are monitoring this person with the intent to stay in tune with their frequency. And imitation is not flattery. It's not funny. I believe that the person that said imitation is flattery probably was a wizard or some sort. That person was probably a witch that said that. Okay. I don't agree with that statement whatsoever, because when you are imitating someone to the T, you are literally trespassing, spiritually trespassing on that person's energetic marker. You are. And the person who's doing it, they know what they're doing. It's not a joke and it's not a game. I don't care how rinky-dink they look on the surface. I don't care how square they look on the surface. They know what they're doing. And they have studied the subject of their imitation for a long time to know that that would be a good target to tap into in terms of the frequency of the person to get a favorable result if you want your life to be favorable or you want to get a positive outcome for your life. They have studied, they have monitored the person for a very long time before they target you. Someone has been monitoring you forever, for a long time. I'm figuratively speaking, of course, not literal, but they have been watching you for long enough to study that there's something magnetic about you where you generate positive results. And they have seen it a series of times to know that you would be a good source to imitate for mirroring or for glamour. Now, when you look up mirror magic, they talk about scrying, they talk about glamour magic in terms of like mirrors, literal mirrors, where people will use mirrors with the intent to enhance their beauty or to shift the perception of the way that people see them. Okay. But when someone uses a person as a mirror, they're doing the same thing. The overall goal is to achieve the same effect. They look at a person and they are looking for a way to enhance their lifestyle or looking for a way to enhance favorable results in their lives. So instead of using a real mirror, like many people would do, they're using the person as the mirror. And what they are doing is siphoning from the person by mirroring them. I've talked about this before. Why do people who are the source of being mirrored and copied, why are they so agitated and take it so personal? Well, they don't think it's flattery. If you've ever had people copy you consistently and persistently, and while they're copying you, they're trying to destroy you in the process, it's not flattery, it's warfare. And the reason why people take it so personal is because your soul feels violated. Okay? On this screen here, Chris Brown, who many people superficially would say that he's winning and he has all of these great things going for him. He has, millions of dollars in the database and he's this superstar or whatever. However, if you look at Chris Brown with his like the makeup and the presentation, you would say that he's authentic. The way that he carries himself, the art, the body art and everything, you would say that he's authentic to himself. Many people didn't look like that until he decided to look like that, And so you have many imitators, regular everyday people who have tried to tap into this man's frequency, just like they do any celebrity who's like high profile, who have tried to do the same. They've got the same tattoo placements as the man, changed their color every time he changes his hair color, got the, the piercings in the same placement as him, everything at the angles, to the T. And after a while, when someone is actually manifesting off of your frequency and your energy, it's aggy. It's an aggravating feeling because you're being siphoned, and it doesn't matter how famous that person is. They're an everyday human being just like everyone else. They just have more eyes on them, which is more monitors, and they just have more access to more numbers in a database, which is quote unquote currency or physical forms of money, which money is just energy. So they have more of it, but they're still regular everyday stardust, just like everybody else. But the system that we live in says that they're super stardust and they get pedestalized. And when you get pedestalized, unfortunately, as you are getting praised, you also get sacrificed in the process. If you understand what I'm saying, for those who are spiritually intuitive. So why this man felt the need to say what he said to this imitator is because his spirit feels infringed upon. You are spiritually trespassing on this man because you are trying to tap into his energetic marker to siphon his frequency for favorable outcomes. What's the favorable outcome? Public perception. You believe that he's beautiful or he's handsome or whatever. You believe he's appealing and alluring. And so in order for you to be the same, then you have to tap into his frequency to get the same results from life. And that is where glamour comes in, which is a form of divination, which is the craft. Immediately you go into the craft when you imitate people. There is a guy who was so mad. He's a Michael Jackson impersonator. He thinks that he has studied that man's energetic marker and signature so well that he can be Michael Jackson better than Michael Jackson can be Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's is passed on. Okay. But the man is pulling from the energy, even though he's transitioned and gone to the other side. He believes that he has studied the marker while it was here enough for him to be qualified to be the mirror reflection of someone else. And to the point where he took a personal offense to that man's own blood playing him in a movie. This is how psychotic these people are when it comes to this glamour magic. Imitating people is not anything to play with. And if you are not careful, people who are imitated usually are also, as I said, the source for admiration and inspiration, but they're also in danger because people want to remove you once they think they have studied and mastered you. It is an infringement upon another person's human right, and it's an infringement upon another person's spiritual marker. As I stated before, every time someone has to modify, whether it is their presentation or their mannerisms, when you modify yours, it's because their soul is depending on it. They don't want the soul that has been given to them. They don't like the essence that has been given to them. It is a form of self-betrayal, self-denial, self-abandonment, and self-neglect. They don't want it. So many people say, well, why won't you be yourself? That's what Chris Brown asked his imitator. Why won't you be you? And people are like, well, they come along with this territory. You should expect it. You're famous. That doesn't stop a person from being human and feeling spiritual warfare. It don't stop a person from feeling siphoning in the spirit. And when it comes to their energetic, their auric field, they're still going to feel it. Okay. And when you're being pulled on all the time by all these different sources and entities and people you do not know, not only are you being monitored consistently by admirers and secret competitors, but you're also being energy siphoned by people, so much energy, people you do not know from all around the world at one time. It is a very isolating thing to experience without being able to express to other people, because the average person would never be able to understand your plight. They believe that you're supposed to be thankful for the monitors and thankful for the siphoning. And it's not true when all you want to do is just share your gift or share your purpose with the world. That's the same thing with chosen people. Okay. These are the people that are classified as the chosen ones on the planet. What happens with those people, they're spiritual superstars to some degree, because all human beings are stars. We have stardust. According to science, all human beings have a form of stardust. Okay. But some people's star markers shine brighter than others, which some spiritual people call it aura or auric fields or whatever. But you can sense something great on the person without even knowing that it's something great about the person. The person didn't do anything and they didn't demonstrate anything yet, but they could just go in a room and emit an energy that is dominant in that environment. That's a superstar. And unfortunately, the difference between a superstar who has no fame and a superstar who does is they have like security around them. Whereas a regular superstar who's not in that manufactured reality like Hollywood or whatever, you get most of your security from angelic assistance, forces you can't see. And it makes it difficult for you to get an understanding of why you're always being pulled or siphoned on all the time. And that siphoning, as I said, it comes in the form of glamour magic, where people mirror you. Okay, where they copy everything you do because they have watched and witnessed some type of favorable outcome over your life, and it's not enough to admire you. They want it for themselves. It's not a game and it's not a joke. And you cannot go to a church or any like monotheistic center, sacred temple or anything to get this information. This information is known, but it is not given to the average everyday person in the masses, because this can scare people away from the faith. A lot of people want feel good, fluffy messages. This type of stuff is known by the prophets, the prophetess, the shamans, the healers, the people of that nature, spiritual councils, and so on and so forth. This information has been hidden for a very long time for very various reasons and a whole lot of factors. But needless to say, in the age of information, we do have access to this information now, which is a gift. However, you can't force people to want to know what is happening to them, because many people can't handle it.
Trespass, right? Let's get the definition. Now, she said at the beginning of the video, she called it a spiritual trespass, which is more of an offense, which is more of a deeper offense. She said she don't care how rinky-dink they look trying to copy and imitate, and which they do be looking rinky-dink, Israel. Straight bootleg. But let's go ahead and get to the definition of trespass. Now, at the first bullet point of the definition of trespass, it says, enter the owner's land or property. Keyword, without permission. That changes everything. And then the second bullet point below, very important, a sin. It's a sin to covet. Copycatting spirit is a sin of covetousness. The power of a dreamer, the spiritual gift that Yah placed inside of Joseph, that money nor fame nor status could buy. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 4. Now there are diversities of gifts, but of the same Spirit. Let's jump down to verse 9. To another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. The power of this gift that Yah placed inside Joseph caused him to be hated amongst his own brethren by way of envy and jealousy. The spirit of Cain. Because remember, Israel, not all the brothers were there with Joseph tending to the sheep and feeding the flock, but they all showed up to what they thought was his perceived downfall. They tried to dim Joseph's light, but that light is still there. As a matter of fact, it shines even brighter in the dark. All of Joseph's brothers sat by and heard his cry for help, while they satisfied their flesh with meat and drink. Genesis chapter 37 and verse 25. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt, because it's in the dark where you can really see all the shimmering colors and unique properties of the Tetrahedron. John chapter 1 and verse 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So placing him inside of the well to try and dim his light wasn't good enough. They wanted Joseph out of here. They then decided to sell him into slavery, out of sight and out of mind, so they don't have to feel inadequate based on the spiritual power that Yah has blessed Joseph with. The spirit of envy, aka narcissism, runs in packs. Narcissism is rooted in envy and covetousness. These packs never run alone. It's a groupthink type of behavior, known as the narcissist who spreads the gossip and the flying monkeys who all co-sign the behavior based on their shared envy and jealousy for the intended target as well. Joseph not only set a righteous example by calling out evil and injustice, he also walked what he talked, despite being in unfavorable circumstances. The light that Joseph reflected influenced an entire community and made positive change for the better. Joseph was tested by the power of lust in which he passed. He was tested by envious and jealous brethren. Joseph was tested with the hardship of life by being a slave in the house of another nation. Joseph was tested with a period of isolation to the point where it felt like Yah abandoned him completely. Joseph's story is a foreshadowing of what the nation of Israel as a whole has to go through in order to be approved of Yah. Genesis chapter 15 verse 20. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but Yah meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive.